All right. Good morning. Welcome back to the podcast. Let's jump in it. Talking about psychedelics today. Having mixed in some cacao with a little bit of coffee, or maybe I'll put it the other way around. I'm having cacao. Is that what I said? Like some cacao with a little bit of coffee. So I'm basically having cacao with a little bit of coffee in it. Let me see. Had about maybe I gotta do the math over here. It's still a little early for me to be doing math. About 87.5 milligrams of psilocybin, Amazon strain. And yesterday I had like 700 milligrams, around 11, and today I decided before 8 a.m. let me just have some of this in the morning, and that'll complete the weekend portion of this. Now, I previously recorded an episode that I didn't post, and so this episode is to kind of speak to what I didn't post. So I kind of really like I don't know, when I'm talking about psychedelics, I kind of tend to not really want to talk about the details of the experiences that I have, or kind of like my opinions or anything. I kind of prefer to keep it to myself. And then, so I kind of was making a more general explanation of kind of my experiences with things through Friday and Saturday. And then I realized I didn't really want to post that either. So now I'm kind of just like, well, I don't even know. But I can explain pretty much for sure the difference of how I felt Friday compared to how I felt today, Sunday, and Saturday, I guess, which was in between. So during the week, anyways, like last week, I'm kind of back with this, with difficulties of work. Like my motivation's not really in it. I mean, you guys have heard the story. Like, I haven't been into it for a while now. My productivity isn't really where it needs to be because I just don't even care to kind of meet productivity. Now, I know kind of what I can get away with, and I can cover for the productivity that I miss by hitting productivity and going over productivity multiple consecutive days after the days that I haven't reached productivity. So I'm definitely going to be able to do that. But, I kind of was like, I don't want to say half-assing it, because my energy was all, used for work, for the work shift during the work day. I did what I could, but it was just too overwhelming. Like, having our server down, at first I was like, okay, we get to do trainings, and then I was like, oh shoot, but we have like monthly goals we've got to get through, and this is setting me back because now I've got to write all these reports. So, my goal last week, because Thursday, Friday, the week before, we didn't have our server working. And then all last week, I work Tuesday through Friday now. All Tuesday through Friday, we still didn't have our server working. We finally got a version of email on Wednesday, but we don't have our back emails. And so, I try to practice integrity. I try not to be I'm not here to do anything fraudulent or to shortchange clients or to, lie or do anything like that. So the way to not do that is basically just to still do my job, but just not really kind of hit the marks exactly. Now another option is taking days off, but I was like, I don't know if I really want to take days off when I'm already behind. And being behind is just, when you're already not feeling it, it's like I have no motivation to catch up with anything, so that's kind of where my energy was being spent when I was trying to back enter things, from days and days of back entering, for me it would have been 4 days worth of back entering, and then having to still work 3 days moving forward, but entering four days from the past. I was just not into it. I was already pretty burnt out by Wednesday, and then it's okay, so basically what, we're supposed to work double time now, and it kind of cut my energy in half, so my focus wasn't there. I was kind of powering through at the very start of the day up until maybe 1 or 2 p.m. And then I was kind of okay, I literally have zero energy. So I did a lot of learning, researching, learning, coming into resources and different things like that. Now it's not completely not working, but we can't bill for it like we used to be able to. And so I just kind of didn't bill for it because I'm well, I guess I don't really need to bill for it. So kind of a bit of a conundrum. And then, Friday, I realized, okay, the week is over, and I had an experience where this isn't an uncommon experience, but the best I can describe it is almost how when you're in school and you have midterms or finals, and once it's over, you kind of get sick. Just your body's overwhelmed, overstressed for so long, pushing through, and then finally when it's done, it just releases all of that. So I kind of had an experience like that on Friday, but I wasn't cold symptom kind of sick or flu symptom kind of sick. It was just a different energetic kind of just not the kind of feeling where you want to go hang out with people or do anything. It was almost equivalent to a really high anxiety, just a lot of physical discomfort, almost like the feeling of before getting a panic attack. I don't get panic attacks so often that it's a consistent thing, but if I kind of push way too much and then there's kind of more and more stacking on my plate, then I definitely do. So reflecting on the week and that previous Thursday, Friday, I was man, I am behind, and then I was and I'm also not working again till Tuesday. So it's a lot of pressure. It kind of was all hitting me on Friday. Especially because I knew on Friday, because I'd just been working, I kind of knew how my energy was feeling, and I was I can't do another week like that because I've got to actually catch up. So, I'd sent a message to one of my managers saying okay, I'm going to be caught up by Tuesday. But then in my head, I'm how am I going to get my Friday wiped out energy to get to how I need to feel Tuesday to actually do this? because I have zero motivation to do any of this stuff. I'm already pretty burnt out. I'm already not feeling it. I've already got a pay cut because of, trying to study to get out of this job. And so it was just a lot going on in the last like week and couple days. So this weekend I was like, okay, it's going to have to be a reset weekend. It doesn't matter what I want. It's going to have to be that way. Otherwise, once, the new work week comes around, I'm not going to be able to actually work. So I did what I needed to do. And I basically, I took some, I don't know, I guess it started with Friday night. So I have this kind of Friday night routine, that's kind of, I guess it would be kind of ritual based, not necessarily religious ritual. There is some spiritual aspects to it, but it's not, purely related to like religion or something like that. It kind of stems from it, that Friday sundown to Saturday sundown, Sabbath period time of week. I do try to, like, if I don't have plans with anybody, I try to keep that as a time when I'm, resetting things, reflecting on things, just kind of like filling in all the things that I didn't really get to do for myself during the week, and just kind of connecting to nature and other things that I, into music and creativity and things that I just didn't either have energy or time or focus to connect with during the regular week. I'll at least take a 24-hour period to do that. So that's kind of generally what I did Friday night, and a lot of that physical feeling by the time I was done, I felt much better by the time I was sleeping Friday night. But that took a period of time from probably while I was still working, from like about 3 p.m. I think I just totally mentally checked out. Like, I was just not there anymore. Like, I was online and, I was trying to focus, but I was just not into it. And then, so, yeah, that's what Friday was looking at, starting at about 3 p.m. Now, mind you, I pushed all the way till maybe 2, maybe a little after 2, I finally ate my lunch, and then, I kind of was crashing after that, in all honesty. And then, so I was feeling bad, kind of, not bad, but just kind of like, all right, like, I want this shift to just be over by now. And then once it ended, I just kind of went through my, I kind of was like chilling, and then realized, I just need a break. So I was resting and just relaxing some. And then I realized that I needed like dinner and all this kind of stuff. And then I was like, oh shoot. So, my eating schedule was off because of having lunch so late, and my energy was off because of having lunch so late. And then my dinner choices weren't really the best because I was like, I just want to have some like the quickest thing possible. But I hadn't really been eating healthy from like Thursday night and pretty much half of Friday. And then, yeah, once I did all the things I was doing Friday night, I started noticing feeling better by like probably about 8:30, 9 p.m. I can't remember the exact time now, but I mean, it was late, but I was like, I'll stay up at least till maybe midnight or so just to get some extra free time. And then I kind of thought about, okay, what do I want my weekend to look like? What's going to get me the best results for when my work week starts, like, let me just plan this out now. And so, people who do or don't know me, I'm not opposed to like caffeinated beverages, or certain type of stimulant related beverages, ranging from like pre-workouts like C4. That's probably the least natural thing that I have in my life, as far as like things that I would take. So C4 is a pre-workout. I usually don't have the full scoop dose, which would be 200 milligrams worth of caffeine, as well as a whole bunch of other stuff. Usually I'll have half or a fourth or a third of a scoop. So usually I max out at the 100 milligram mark. If I'm if I'm trying to work out, and usually that's like a weekend workout thing. Other types of stimulants, I would say coffee is a common one, and yerba mate is another common one. I like my coffee black. I like my yerba mate plain. I like other types of tea, but usually, if I'm going to spend a lot of money, it's going to be on yerba mate. Like, it's a little pricier. I mean, I like a lot of Japanese green teas, and they can be pretty pricey too, like the really nice ones that I like. But I don't tend to buy those because I tend to prefer the effects of yerba mate, just because it's got that euphoria kind of built into it, and that no crash, and the energy is pretty high. It's got more caffeine than coffee. Coffee I like because it's readily available, and we almost always have coffee in the house. But the thing I don't like about coffee is the crash from it. And I feel like I'm not as focused when I have coffee. Like, I can be, but I feel like if I mix coffee with cacao, it's a little more focused with the euphoria added too. So that's how I am with things that are maybe like stimulating based. On the other end, so cannabis edibles, preferably, my preference is very high CBD with a little bit of hybrid, like a hybrid THC, like a mix of indica and sativa, and a lot of CBD. That's my preferred. It's harder to come by. So I usually when they have CBD, they usually have a whole lot of indica. That usually makes me sleep. But usually hybrids keep me focused, but then I'll eventually get more relaxed. And I'm talking like really low doses if it's an edible. And I'm not saying I'm like using all this stuff in the middle of my workday. I'm just saying, like that's kind of my preferred, is high CBD. If I'm kind of like with a purpose taking this, it's usually going to be higher CBD. If I'm really trying to get my mind to kind of reroute and just kind of open some doors into some other areas, then yeah, an indica or hybrid THC dominant is usually something I would go for. But that's only purely for that focus. Like, I know a lot of people, who talk to me probably think that I'm quite a bit of a recreational, cannabis user, but I don't consider myself to be recreational. I've probably used it recreationally, like, I think there was one Pride that was definitely recreational, and that's maybe a couple times when I was like trying to watch movies or something like that with friends, like watch a movie or something. But other than that, like I would say that I use it more for either the medicinal benefits or creative, a little bit of creative, like kind of more like I don't know if creative is the right word. More like just to kind of like like open up my headspace more, to kind of like expand into different ideas when I'm kind of feeling like, okay, like my brain is just not really coming up with options of ideas, you know. That's like if I don't want to talk to a therapist or some kind of a person like that, it's like, you know, it's just a different way of getting like a different mindset. And then otherwise, you know, spiritual reasons as well. But, you know I seem like a recreational user too, because I'll be on the phone with people or out and like talking and doing stuff like that. But yeah. But I don't really consider myself much of a recreational user. I don't see anything wrong with recreational use, but I just, you know, I'm not usually like, you know how people might go out to bars to drink. You know, I don't really use cannabis as a just like, this is what I'm doing because I'm in party mode. Like when I'm in party mode, I prefer cannabis over alcohol, just because I don't like the way alcohol makes me feel the next day. But I'm not against alcohol. I just don't prefer it because I wake up so early in the morning. It just doesn't really benefit me as much. For a weekend, it kind of like kills half of a day's energy for me. So it's not really worth 1 or 2 or 3 alcoholic beverages for me. Usually I'm like, okay, that means I'm not going to wake up early and go to the gym. You know, I'm probably not going to be eating the best of foods. You know, I'm not going to be fully hydrated. I'm just not going to feel like I'm going to be super motivated the next morning. And I just have to deal with that. And so if I know that that's what I'm willing to feel like, I'll have a drink or whatever. If I feel like that's not really how I want to feel on a Sunday morning or a Saturday morning or whatever, then I just won't drink the night before. So that's kind of my relationship with alcohol. And with psilocybin, I feel like I'm a lot more focused. I'm a lot more like intentional about it. Like I don't use it as routinely for things. Like I don't use it to try to sleep because it keeps me awake. I don't use it to try to like party because I just, you know, I don't want to use it for that reason. Usually it's for pretty much when I want to have a different connection, either connection with myself, connection with others. It's usually connection with myself, and just kind of those automatic thought processes. When I want that to kind of shift, that's usually when I would incorporate psilocybin. It's not very often. I usually would say I'll use it on a birthday and New Year's Eve. Like usually those are the 2 times where I'm like, I want a different perspective on things. Not saying that I'm trying to buy in and change my perspectives completely on everything, but that's usually the purpose that I would use it for, is for perspective change or opening up different perspectives that come to me through that method. And that's usually the only purpose I'll use it for. And yeah. And I'd say concerts and festivals of certain types, but usually it's that same exact reason. It's just in a different environment. And so usually that's when that's pretty much my relationship with psilocybin. So those are pretty much all of the types of things that I would probably be interested in, with the C4 being more on the not natural side, as well as certain alcoholic beverages. Sometimes they're not really like fully natural, but everything else is natural. You know, the psilocybin's natural, the cacao is natural, the coffee's natural, the yerba mate is natural, any of the types of teas are natural. And that's just kind of how I roll with things. So I basically was, you know, I felt that, you know, I wanted a different perspective on things. So I came into Saturday, you know, with, you know, waking up, getting to the gym, doing all my meals, all that kind of stuff. And there was some psilocybin incorporated during the day, because I knew I didn't have anywhere to go or anything I needed to do. And like I was saying, it was like 700 milligrams, which is still, it's not a lot. Like I'd say maybe about about 1400 milligrams, a little less than that. So maybe about 300, no, 1,000, about 1,000 milligrams. 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams seems like on the lower end, really. So like 1 or 2 grams, that's usually still pretty low. Once I go over like 1.5 grams, that's a whole other experience, and I am then officially in a trip mode. For me, that's usually where the dosages are. If I think about like cannabis, I don't really get into a trip of any kind unless it's edibles, and edibles usually at 5 milligrams I can get there, 10 for sure. Usually even sometimes at like 3 or 4, but even like I don't mind just having like 1 or 2 or 3 milligrams of an edible. Considering that, like if it's got CBD in it, it's usually less than 3 milligrams of THC. And so that's usually fine for me when I'm trying to like get things done and using it for like those intentional purposes. Usually I don't go that much past 3 milligrams, in all honesty. And then, yeah. Like with vaping or smoking, that's different for me. Like it's, it's not as potent, I guess. And it's not, there's no like psychedelic type of effects when I'm smoking or vaping at all. Like I don't find that with cannabis at all. From my opinion, but there is some type of, I don't know if it would even be considered psychedelic, but it's near that with edibles, especially at those higher dosages. And then so the thing that I like about experiences with psychedelics is just basically the different avenues that the mind can kind of go to. Like, excuse me, I don't know why my throat's so like, I have to keep clearing my throat. That's weird. So I kind of like where my mind goes. It's kind of almost like this is probably, I don't like to do like this whole equivalent thing, but for people who have never tried, the easiest way I can describe how my mind does things, and this isn't even exactly a good example, but the only thing that I could say would be a nearly similar experience without it is like, when you're feeling a certain way or you're in a certain mood or you're just like, okay, like I want to work through this thing that I have going on, and see different results. It's kind of like when you put the effort in, like say if you do something like look up positive affirmations, or you pick up a book or watch like a certain type of YouTube channel where they're either like a motivational speaker or even like a TED Talk or a lecture, or some people go to like sermons, or if you talk to a therapist that's helpful, like that kind of like just that kind of insight that you get from like those types of activities, just like the insight and the just kind of the like different way of thinking about things. That's the best I can describe it. Is that, for me with psychedelics, my mind, in lower doses, with like a microdose, my mind kind of just opens up just kind of other avenues to take, other options that without it, my mind doesn't get there by itself. Almost equivalent to how like it's hard to like think outside the box on certain things. Like say for example, if you're just not motivated to go to the gym, or if you're just not motivated to eat healthy, or if you're just not motivated to, stop partying and like focus on studying and stuff like that, and then you like go out of your way to like read something, or get something to kind of motivate you, or something to kind of make you want to eat healthy, or something to kind of make you want to get to the gym or whatever. That kind of like eye-opening kind of something that you go to kind of like open your eyes a little bit more in a different area, and then kind of that helps you kind of do the thing that you were not doing. That's kind of the best that I can describe it, but it's not exactly the same. There's like a whole there's a whole process that happens. It's really complex, that I don't want to describe in a lot of details, but that's the best I can kind of describe it at a microdosing level. But yeah, that's kind of more my comfort level of sharing that type of information. And it works. I mean, at least for me it does. The way I felt Friday and following Saturday, I mean, it wasn't just like, oh, I took this thing and it made me feel better. Like I said, like I was doing a lot of things Friday night, I was doing a lot of things Saturday morning, and then all throughout the rest of Saturday I was just kind of like in this focused mode of what was happening, primarily with the psychedelics in my system. But like I said, like I'd been to the gym before that, I was eating healthier, I was rested from the night before, I was doing stuff the night before and connecting more with music and all this other kind of stuff, and journaling and playing guitar and all this other stuff. Like it was like a whole other thing that I was doing before I had even finished that process. And I'm still in the process. The process isn't going to end until about noon Monday. That's pretty much what I've decided, that by noon Monday, I'm just gonna get back to my like not having anything in my system. But yeah, that's pretty much the time frame. And kind of, I was feeling how I was feeling Friday night or Friday afternoon even, but that built up from like the Thursday a week before that. It built up from that time. And then yeah, so I'm feeling pretty good today. I was feeling good already by Saturday morning, before the gym even, but the way I felt when I woke up Saturday compared to the way I felt after taking psilocybin Saturday compared to the way I felt this morning, those are still different. And I just woke up feeling pretty calm, pretty chill. I didn't sleep super, super good, but it was fine. But the reason I didn't sleep all that good was because, psilocybin keeps me awake. I don't know why, it just does. And my pre-dream state was actually a little weird for me. There was maybe some, I call it like an unusual darkness there. It was just kind of like, what, is happening? Like, I was not feeling too, not that I wasn't at peace. Like, I was kind of accepting of it. I was just like, I know why this is happening because I took this stuff. But basically, it was just kind of like, there's some other realm that was just involved in my pre-sleep time. But it wasn't really like, I was so tired that it wasn't like, I wasn't like scared of it or whatever. Like I could just see it for what it was, and I was like, it's just a dark energy. I'm like, all right, go to bed. Like any other time that would probably really bother me, and I'd probably not have slept. But I was just like, I see you. Okay, you're there, but this is time for me to sleep, and so I'm gonna sleep. And so there was really that kind of like, just being able to kind of work through things a little bit easier. And so I'm about to head down to San Diego in a couple hours. At 10:30 I said I was gonna try and head down to grab lunch, and then it's 8:30 a.m. now on a Sunday, and I think I woke up, what time was it? I want to say it was like 6:30 when I started getting up. Maybe it was 6 a.m. I don't know. I can't remember. But I feel fine. The cacao is kind of kicked in a little bit too, with a little bit of energy. It's kind of chill. So that's kind of how today's going to be. It's just going to be chill. Get a little bit out in nature and, talk to some friends, catch up, and get ready to start this next week. Got to get some studying in. I'm working on a little music still as usual, so I'm getting that in. And yeah, that's basically how I'm gonna spend my weekend. But yeah, thanks for listening.